Well, hello everybody, and a happy Thursday morning to you. As usual, we have a lot in here, but guess what? The universe was good to me, and so was Twitter, and the memes are out, and they are absolutely hilarious. So there's a lot in here, but you're going to enjoy this video. So let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start this morning with King Frederick. He visited the royal house's workshop in the courtyard behind the Christian VIII's palace, and he stopped by to get an update on the work and to greet the carpentry workshop's new apprentice cabinet maker. Let's move on now to the Norwegian royals. Marius Borg Høiby. Apparently, it's being reported he felt unwell during the first week of his trial last week. His defense attorney confirmed that he apparently collapsed in a back room and was taken to the hospital. This apparently happened at the courthouse on day one of his trial, but we're just learning about it. All right, you guys stick with me, and again, forgive my pronunciation. I can't look this stuff up while I'm on vacation, but Princess Anne, who is a member of the IOC, shook hands with silver medalist Eileen Gu of the Team People's Republic of China after the women's slopestyle final on day 3 of the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Olympics. And she shook hands also with the gold medalist Matilda Grimald of Team Switzerland. Princess Anne also handed out medals to Kokomo Marasi of Team Japan. She won the gold. Zoe Sadowski Sinat of Team New Zealand. She won the silver. And Sengwen Yu of Korea, who won the bronze. And this was for the women's snowboarding big air final. Way to go, Anne. Way to go. Now, next up, let's talk about Mike Tyndall. Apparently, a picture came up. He was at the Super Bowl in California, but he made absolutely no effort to see Harry and Meghan. I don't blame him. Good for him. Seriously, though, why should he see them? Ugh. All right, let's move on now. Apparently, 2 commemorative coins released by the Royal Australian Mint and have a portrait of the Queen on them have been criticized because they don't look like her. It's a $5 and a 50-cent silver coin created to commemorate the centenary of the Queen's birth, and they were released in an online ballot that closed on Wednesday, and people were like, that is the most unfortunate picture of the Queen. Next up, we have Princess Beatrice's husband, Eduardo Mapelli Mosey. He apparently is starring in a montage video of his trip to the U.S. after sharing a picture from an airport terminal with the words, "Goodbye, L.A." Now, the video was watermarked with the caption, "Life is not a movie," and it has snippets of him throughout his venture throughout the United States. I think that's wonderful. The footage was posted by Banda, which is a high-end firm which specializes in property search development and interior design. Let's move on now to Catherine's brother, James Middleton. He apparently put up a picture of his golden retriever, Isla, and he took to social media to celebrate National Golden Retriever Day. So it was on his Instagram. And remember, he's got a brand of dog food in honor of his late dog, Ella, that, he claimed the dog saved his life. So he put the picture up. Happy National Golden Retriever Day. I'm celebrating this incredible breed and their roles, not only as wonderful family pets, but as service and therapy dogs too. Of course, we know that Catherine and William's dog brand of choice are Cocker Spaniels, or breed of choice. Lovely. All right, let's continue. All right, let's keep with Prince and Princess of Wales. They apparently slipped away for a quick weekend skiing trip to France, and people spotted them in their beanies and said they looked adorable. All right, let's stick with William. He has landed in Saudi Arabia. Remember, he began a 3-day tour of the country right after he addressed the Epstein scandal for the first time, and we're going to cover that a little later on in the video. He was on a Royal Air Force jet. He stepped onto purple carpeting at the King, I hope I say this right, Khalid International Airport shortly after 6 p.m. local time, 3 p.m. UK time. The Deputy Governor, Prince Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman bin Abdulaziz, welcomed him onto the royal terminal with traditional hospitality. They had coffee and dates. Well, that sounds really good. I've never had a date. William will later meet the Saudi crown ruler prince on a trip set to be the biggest diplomatic test to date of his overseas visits in support to the UK. The heir to the throne is going to hold talks with the leader, known as MBS, followed by a private dinner at his farm in a World UNESCO site in the Saudi capital. Now, William is on this visit at the request of the British government, and the idea is to strengthen ties because this is one of the UK's closest Middle East allies and a major religious and political player in the region. So these two areas, London and Riyadh, I don't think I'm saying that correctly, but forgive me, they've met before and they're hoping to develop a connection. William was actually given a private tour of a UNESCO World Heritage Site by the Crown Prince himself. It was built in the late mid-18th century, and it's considered one of the largest integrated mud brick cities in the world. Now, the Crown Prince, as I said before, known as MBS, is very controversial to the West. He is the head of an absolute monarchy whose regime has been accused of human rights violations, while the ruler is alleged to have links to the killing of a journalist. Apparently, U.S. intelligence determined that this guy ordered the killing of that journalist back in 2018. And this is the guy that gave those chandelier earrings to Meghan for her wedding. And she was told where they came from and she wore them anyway. And then when she had the backlash, she claimed that nobody told her where they came from. Well, this is the guy that gave her those really big chandelier earrings that, she was seen wearing multiple times. So going back to this mud and brick area, this is a citadel that was once the seat of the Emirate of Diriyah, I hope I'm saying that correctly, which is basically the first Saudi state in the 18th and 19th centuries. So anyway, both areas, London and this area, are very hopeful that William and MBS, who by the way have met before, will develop a connection with a burgeoning relationship between the two royals. That's what they're hoping for because it's going to set the tone for Anglo-Saudi relations for decades to come. So this is actually a really important meeting for the two of them. Now this guy took William seems to be enjoying whatever the heck that is he's drinking. But he took him on a tour of that site. Then he took him into what appears to be some sort of, in my opinion, educational center. There was like a full-sized map there. There was all kinds of stuff. There was artwork, interesting things that William took a look at. So I think this trip will be very successful, just my opinion. Now, going back to the Epstein thing, William and Catherine have finally said something about it. They didn't speak to the media directly, which I think is a smart move. But instead, a spokesman from Kensington Palace released a statement on their behalf. And what he said is, and I'm quoting, "I can confirm that the Prince and Princess of Wales have been deeply concerned by the continuing revelations. Their thoughts remained focused on the victims." Now, this is their first public comment about this scandal that's going on with Andrew, which seems to be just long running. Oh, it just keeps going and going and going. And the timing of this statement is very noteworthy because they never said anything when Charles formally stripped Andrew of his titles. You guys should know it has been said that William would show absolutely no hesitation and he would let Andrew face a police probe. Because let's face it, as the future king, and when he is king, you have to follow the law. You have to show respect for the law. William understands that. So he's like, you know what? If they're going to get you, they're going to get you, and you're going to follow the law, and you're going to cooperate 100%, and you're going to do absolutely everything the police says. And personally, I believe that. Good. Now, let's move on to King Charles. He stepped out in Lancashire after William and Catherine issued their statement. And I just don't understand what hecklers think they're going to get from Charles. He's not going to stop what he's doing to address your concerns. And I think a lot of people showed up and they were really disgusted with the heckler. So the heckler shouted out, let me just tell you so you'll know what you're listening for. "How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?" So of course the crowd around him were disgusted and started yelling, "Shut up, stop it." I found it very uplifting to me that the crowd took care of this guy before the police got to him. Listen to this.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and
So here you have hundreds of people lined up to meet the king, and you have one idiot in the crowd who's going to try to disrupt the whole thing. I love the fact that the crowd, was like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And the funny thing is, the heckler is the one that was grabbed by the police and drug away. So the king went to several venues, and this may not be in order. One venue was Farmhouse Cheesemakers. They're a fourth-generation family business called Butler's Cheese, and he went there. I would have eaten every bit of cheese in that building. I wouldn't have gotten out. Charles then was at a 700-year-old medieval manor called Salisbury Hall, where he met local business owners, trustees, and volunteers that are helping to preserve this very historic building. The next thing the king did was go to Clitheroe Auction Mart, where King Charles met farmers. He toured the livestock area. He learned about support from some of the rural charities. Now, at one point, it was reported that Charles was helping with the auction and was helping with some of the stuff that was being sold. Could you just imagine you're bidding with the king on a horse or cow? I can't even fathom. Unbelievable. But I'm glad he got in there and was, helping out. By the way, he also met at a different part of the day Shire horses, Thunder and Regal, from a brewery. He met them at the 700-year-old medieval, castle. They're Clydesdale. They look like Clydesdales to me. Now, as far as Andrew goes, first of all, Buckingham Palace shared an announcement that they have vowed to cooperate with law enforcement, and it also addresses Andrew's conduct for the first time since Andrew and Sarah appeared in numerous Epstein files. We know. They said the king has made it clear in words and through unprecedented actions his profound concern at allegations which continue to come to light in respect of Mr. Mountbatten Windsor's conduct. This was on the 9th. They're saying that while the specific claims and questions are for him to address, if we are approached by police, we stand ready to support them as you would expect. As was previously stated, Their Majesty's thoughts and sympathies have been and remain with the victims of any and all forms of abuse. So there you go. The king has done everything he can do, and he stands ready to help the police. And that's because, are you ready? They're now claiming that Andrew leaked confidential trade documents to Jeffrey Epstein. And so the Thames Valley Police said, we can confirm receipt of this report, and we are assessing the information in line with our established procedures, because apparently there were emails included in the Epstein files released that showed that Andrew shared reports on official visits to Hong Kong, Vietnam, and Singapore in 2010 when he was working as the UK Globe Trade Envoy. Yeah, that's not good. Let's see what the police do. I feel sorry for Charles because they're saying that between his cancer treatment and the renewed scandal around Andrew, it's literally killing the monarch because he's under so much stress. He's literally in a quote unquote precautionary phase of his treatment. And in the meantime, Andrew's stuff just keeps coming out. Poor man. Now, I wondered how they got Andrew out of that home. Well, apparently he was spirited out in the middle of the night in the back of a car, leaving the Royal Lodge staff to pack up what remained of Andrew's belongings while they moved him to the temporary accommodations. They said the decision to do this was made by William and Charles on Sunday evening after an urgent discussion at Sandringham because Andrew was out of control. And now Andrew is waiting on renovations at his permanent residence before he can move in. Now they're saying that the exact same thing happened to Sarah. Sarah, who, had the world and all this money and stuff, was smuggled out in the trunk of a car. That's how they got her out. Unbelievable. All right, let's move on. This is a kind of different story. We know the Marquess of Bath and his wife Emma, the Marchioness of Bath. Apparently their second son was born via a surrogacy, after she suffered from all kinds of problems during her first pregnancy and was told a second pregnancy could be fatal. So he is thought to be the first member of the British aristocracy to have been born by surrogacy. However, they're saying that stops the legitimacy of her son's right to inherit a share of his wealth. So there was a hearing in the High Court in Bristol, and there's 3 trusts set up. They're fighting in court because they're saying it would be unfair and unfortunate if their second son and his issue were excluded from the benefits. So they are seeking approval from the court to allow Henry and any of his future children to inherit the wealth. But the issues of inheritance tax may also create a complication, as he was born in the United States to an American mother. So, yeah, I'll keep an eye on this case to see what happens because, Harry, Meghan, surrogacy, yeah. All right, let's move on. All right, let's finally move on to our Harry, Meghan stuff. First of all, they're saying that Harry is hoping his kids will build relationships with their British cousins, and that at some point he's concerned his children will grow up disconnected from a fundamental part of who they are and where they came from. Guys, he wants them to be working royals, that he can forget it. Now, it was eventually, we knew the memes were going to come out, so I'm sending a big thank you to that one on Twitter, Laird of the Manor, who's also on Twitter, The Veil Between Us Two on Twitter. People are so talented. Rocco's mom on Twitter. Okay, sit back with these memes and enjoy. All right, this is kind of the big story for today. You guys remember when Meghan arrived at Balenciaga's Paris Fashion Week and everybody was like, oh, it's so wonderful. And we found out later on that she texted him asking for an invite. Well, she did it again, supposedly. This dress she was wearing was $8,500, and it was made supposedly by one of America's top designers. I feel like he's just been markled. But anyway, they're claiming that she did it again. She invited herself to the gala because there's a flyer, and she's not listed on the flyer as a VIP. And I get it, the flyer has Miss Greed and Miss Knowles and 11 other big names backing the event. Meghan's name isn't on it. So do I think that she texted and says, please let me get in, let me get in? Yeah, I believe she did. If they wanted to be seen, they should have gone to the Super Bowl, one of the biggest sporting events in the United States with a ton of A-listers, and it's in Los Angeles. Instead, they decided to give it a pass. And the reason this is important is because in the UK, sporting events are always supported by royals, whether it be Ascot or the World Cup or the, whatever. So the Super Bowl was a really big opportunity for them to do that, but they just didn't go. I think they deemed it beneath them. Whatever. Well, you guys know what I want. Put those comments down, make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.